Okay, fabulous. Right, I'm going to get right into it because I've got so much to give you today, and I just want to get right into the training. If you've been on any of my trainings before, you probably know that I don't. Well, if you know me at all as well, I don't really like to fluff about. I don't like to, like, when you meet someone and there's loads of small talk. I just want to get straight into it. I just want to get right into the meat and potatoes of the stuff. So I'm going to dive straight into the content today, and coming up from your bubba's bedroom. Oh, well done, babe. Putting her to sleep. So cute. I know sometimes I'm laying there and I give it a little phone, jump on a quick training. Probably shouldn't do that, should you? But oh well, multitasking, these working mamas, you've got to do whatever you can to get it done. Okay, fabulous. I'm going to jump right into it. So welcome to the class. I'm so excited to be doing this for you. I want to be so clear on who this training is for. So this training is for you if you want to start a podcast, or maybe you're just intrigued about starting a podcast, but you have absolutely no idea where to start. And also, I want to be really upfront and honest with you. I've been on a lot of webinars, and this is not a typical webinar. So I think too many webinars dance around the topic of what they're talking about, and they don't actually give you any valuable tips to take away unless you buy their course, and they do this big pitch at the end, and it's actually just a waste of your time, and I don't want to be wasting your time today. So I want you to go away today with loads of actionable tips. I want you to go away and be able to actually record and upload your first 3 podcast episodes, even if you buy my course or not. I really want you to be able to take away that action today. And of course, I have an amazing course. I would love you to join my course because I put my heart and soul into helping you create your dream podcast. And I really like doing it in the easiest way possible. But I would feel pretty crappy if that is the only reason that I got you on here today. So with that in mind, I don't want you to be anxiety ridden and distracted, throughout this whole training and thinking, what is the course? How much is the course? Do I need this course? And I don't want you to have those thoughts. I just want you to be totally focused on the training. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to take 60 seconds to tell you about it right now so that you know, and then we can move on to the actual training. Is that okay with you? Are you happy for me to just share that really, really quickly with you? Okay, so I have put together this super simple step-by-step course to teach you how to launch your podcast from start to finish. This is a step-by-step course to teach you how to create your powerful podcast without the fluff, and the doors are open now. So inside this course, you get immediate access to the exact method that I use to create my own powerful podcast, and you can follow it step by step. I'm literally there every single step of the way with you to help you launch your podcast in 30 days or less. You also get an on-the-go app, so you actually have it on your phone, and there's video modules, and you can work through the course on the go. And you also have a downloadable PDF workbook as well, which you can work through all the exercises. You don't need to print it out. It's all ready for you to work straight onto. So what do I actually cover in the course? In the course, there's loads of stuff. So it's the whole step-by-step process, like I said. It's how to attract your dream audience, how to stand out in your niche, how to never run out of content ideas, all of your tech tutorials. I go through it all with you. How to hit the top charts, how to successfully launch it, how to book high profile guests, and how to earn a passive income stream with every single episode. Plus, you're going to get all the access to my promotion, my pitching, and all of my email templates in my fast track pack as well. That is an exclusive webinar offer just for you. So I'm sure you want to know what the investment is. The investment is, it's so simple. It's 2 easy ways. You can either do a 3 monthly payments of £97, or if you decide that you want to pay in full, then you actually get a £65 discount, which means that it's only £227. So nice and simple. That is it. Pitch over. It doesn't need to be any bigger than that. And now we can get right into the training. So those are all the details that you need to know about Launch Your Podcast. It's a great course. It makes the whole process so simple. And it's already helped so many other entrepreneurs get their voice out there and become visible as well, which is what this is all about. So how is today's training going to go? As I said before, I'm here to give you some real value. So I'm going to train for about 45 minutes, and then I'm going to do a really quick recap of the webinar course offer so that you can decide after hearing the information whether it's for you or not. And then I'm going to do a Q&A, and I will stay as long as I need to answer all of the questions that you have, so you can leave here feeling really, really confident. Okay, so let me just introduce myself really quickly. I'm an online entrepreneur. I'm a podcast host, a very proud mum of two beautiful babies, Frankie, who is 2, and Margot, who is almost 1. And podcasting really does hold such a special place in my heart because, to be honest, I feel like when I launched my podcast, that's really when my personal brand and my business really took off. I put it off for so long, and I honestly had no idea how it would impact me and how much it would impact my business. However, despite all the amazing things that launching a podcast can bring, I still put it off for 2 years because honestly, fear massively held me back. Like fear of putting myself out there, fear of failure, fear of the tech, fear of what will people think, fear of people saying, who does she think she is? Can anyone resonate with those fears? Has anyone had those same fears? Please say I'm not the only one. But I'm going to assume that you wanted to start a podcast for a while, but you think, who am I to start a podcast? Maybe you think it's way too techie for you and it's kind of intimidating. Or maybe you think that you need a massive audience before you launch, otherwise there's no point. Now, the reason that I know all of these things is because these are the exact things that held me back and kept me procrastinating for so long. And I'm here to tell you, honestly, these are all just myths. So I want to dispel those myths with you straight away. Let's just get all of those things out of the way straight away. So, myth number 1, you need to be an expert or no one will listen. Now, this is just simply not true. So, take my podcast, for example. My podcast, Made for More, is in the business category. And in that category, there are 37,371 other podcasts, all just in that category. They are not all experts. There is not 37,000 experts in the area. I am not an expert. However, we are all just more knowledgeable about a particular subject in a general room. That's all it is. And we maybe have more experience in that area. We're definitely not experts. And one of my favorite podcasts is it's actually one of the most successful podcasts out there as well. It's called Happy Mum, Happy Baby by Giovanna Fletcher. Now, this podcast gets millions and millions of downloads and it is listened across the entire world. But Giovanna is not a parenting expert. She does not have any parenting qualifications. She has kids. She has loads of experience parenting, but she just chats about it with all of her other non-expert guests. And millions of people tune in because they just love listening to that. So people don't always tune in for her knowledge, and that will be the exact same for you as well. People tune in because maybe it's your they don't just listen to your expertise, they want your energy, it's your personality, it's your relatability, it's your passion, it's your humor. There's so many other aspects of why someone would tune in. And think about your favorite podcast. Think about the people that you love to listen to. Do you like them because they are the most knowledgeable person in the room? Or do you just like them? Do you tune in because you like their energy? You like to listen to them? They make you feel good? There's so many other aspects to it other than just knowledge. So I hope that has dispelled that one for you. Secondly, you need to be really, really techie and buy loads of expensive equipment. Now, the truth is, you do not need a degree in IT to create, edit, and publish your own podcast. And you're going to see that in a little bit. Now, you just need to be shown how to do it without all of the fancy jargon language. Honestly, I think some people just make it sound really complicated so that they can get a job doing it for you. They try and make out like you can do it on your own, but also just to feed their ego a little bit. But it's really not that hard. Or what you can do is you can actually hire someone for like $15 an episode or £30 an episode or whatever, really, really low cost to do it for you. And in case you think that you need the perfect setup, I just want to show you. This was me. So this is how I recorded my first 5 episodes. I was sat on the floor of my office, surrounded by cushions because my room was really echoey. I had my mic propped up on my son's soft play because we were redecorating. And honestly, done is better than perfect. So just start. I've improved so much since my first episodes. I listen back now and cringe, but I'm so glad I just started because I've grown so much since then. So do not worry about those first episodes. It is all good. Plus, When you learn how to make a profit from your podcast, you can get other people to do the bits that you don't want to do so that you can focus on doing what you're best at, and that is recording. And it doesn't actually cost you anything. So if you are like, I just do not even want to get started on the tech, like I'd love to do a podcast, but I'm just not interested in it, then you could literally do this system. This is what I do now. I look at my calendar and the calendar says record podcast. So I literally sit down and record my podcast. I then pop that in a Google Drive and I send it off to my magical editor who does it for like £20 an episode. And then I just focus on doing all the fun stuff. My podcast is out there. It's all looking wonderful. It's serving lots of people. And all I've been doing is focusing on doing the thing. And it's an amazing way of doing it. So do not let the tech hold you back. If it's stressing you out, do not let it stress you out. There are so many ways around it. Myth number 3, you need to have a big audience before you launch a podcast. Now, the truth is, launching a podcast is the thing that will build you a big audience. So I'm sure I'm not the only one that sees this. How many other people, when you look at your daily to-do list, looks like this? So you look and you think, right, okay, I need to send an email. I need to post a reel on Instagram. I need to connect on LinkedIn. I need to upload a YouTube video. I need to do this and blah, 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 blah. And maybe you've thought about podcasting. Maybe you've thought, I don't have the time or the brain space or the anything to add anything else in. Let me know if that is you. Let me know if you've been thinking, where is the space to add in a podcast? Now, the pressures to show up consistently on all social media platforms are exhausting. And honestly, it can be so overwhelming. So let me know if that is you. And the thing is, we can't actually show up on all of these things. We can't give 100% to every single thing. So we end up giving about 20% to everything. And while I'm not a master mathematician, that does actually add up to 120%. So it's no wonder we are getting burnt out. We are giving way more than we've got to too many things. But we know that in order to get traction and get something really off the ground, we can't just give it 20%. It needs loads of focus and loads of energy behind it. So exactly like when you try and get a plane to take off, if you split all the fuel between 7 different planes, they'd all be sat on the runway, barely moving. None of those planes are going up in the air. It needs a full tank of petrol, or fuel, probably not petrol. Is that what a plane uses? I don't know. It needs a full tank of fuel and a focus driver in order to take off. So coming back to your daily to-do list, with this approach, even though you're working 120% all of the time, you're not actually getting any aspect of it off the ground. Does anyone feel like that? Do you feel like you're just putting in so much work into your audience building and you're like, nothing is changing? So this is why your audience isn't really growing and you're struggling to sell your products. So I looked at this system one day after I was getting mega burnt out and I was just feeling like, am I ever going to get anywhere with my audience? And I looked at everything again and I thought, this just isn't working. So I scrapped it. And instead I asked myself, where is the one place that I can make the biggest impact? And I wanted to create content that I was putting hours into creating to actually count. I didn't want it to just disappear for 24 hours. How long have you sat around creating a Facebook post or an Insta story and then it disappears, never to be seen again? And so in life and business, being successful is all about building relationships. And there have been studies recently by Google and many others, including Daniel Priestley, who is a guy who's absolutely amazing. He's an entrepreneur that I interviewed recently. And they have discovered that the aspects that build the strongest relationships are, They have discovered what aspects build the strongest relationships, and this is what they are. So they realize that the strongest relationships, whether that's love, whether that's work, whether that's friendships, they are based on these 3 points: spending 7 hours together over 11 different interactions and in 4 different locations. So obviously you cannot spend 7 hours with every single one of your audience. So how can we achieve that? How can you still get that connection that we need? So they need to be able to listen or watch 7 hours of content of you in 11 different ways, like a blog, an email, an Insta post, something like that, and then see you on 4 different platforms. Now, I don't know about you, but when I first heard that, I was like, what? How the hell am I going to do all of these things? It sounds so overwhelming. And if you thought that, then look at this. This is why podcasting is so cool. So, just by recording one podcast episode, you can pretty much cover all of these bases. So, you get one of your listening hours for them to binge on. I actually teach my students to launch their podcast with 3 or 4 episodes so someone can binge on them. So, you're already halfway there. Then you can take that episode, transcribe it so that it's all written down into text, and then repurpose it into a blog, an Insta post, an email. You can even video yourself recording it. So I record all of my podcasts on Zoom and I turn that into a YouTube clip, an Insta reel, a TikTok, or even a Snapchat if you're like 12 or into Snapchat. So that hour or however long it takes me to record my podcast episode, I get 11 pieces of content out of that. And then obviously you can have it on 4 different places as well. So you can have it on Facebook, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, email. How cool is that? You have to work smart. When you're building an online business, you need to work smart. And honestly, this theory of 7-11-4 always works. And I can guarantee that every message I get from someone who wants to work with me starts with, I just totally binge listen to your podcast. Every single time, because they have got to a point of maybe first discovering me to get into a point of like, I really like her and I know exactly what she's about and I want to work with her. It happens so quickly, and that's because of the nature of podcasting. So, of course, I'm not saying to sack off all the other platforms and only focus on your podcast. What I am saying is use the other platforms to promote your podcast, drive traffic to it, and have that as your main place to serve and make people feel so special there, like they're getting something that they would never get an insight to on another platform. I really open up on my podcast. So I always think about it. I always think that podcasting is like the most intimate and authentic way of building a connection online because all of the other senses are removed. So they can't be distracted by what you're wearing, what filters you use, how many likes you're getting, what your backdrop looks like, how many followers you have. They literally just have your voice in their ears. And that's why listeners feel so much closer to you. So once you've built those solid relationships and they trust you, then they will actually want to work with you and buy from you because you built that loyalty. So what I do here is I serve that podcast and then I bring them even deeper into my community, which is my Facebook group. So really nice way of nurturing my audience. So I'm pretty sure you are thinking, well, this all sounds delightful. I would love to start a podcast, but where do I actually start? So I'm going to take a sip of my really bland water and then I'm going to show you how to do it. Okay, so like with anything, let's start with the most important question, which is why are you starting a podcast? Now, I'm not going to lie, starting a podcast is the best thing I've ever done for my business, but it's not always the easiest thing. It takes commitment, it takes planning, it takes focus, and it does take a huge stretch of your comfort zone. The way I am now was not the way I was at the beginning, and it was definitely more of a like, oh my God, I'm putting myself out there in the beginning. So, having a successful podcast is about playing the long game. And like anything of value, consistency is key. So, we really need to figure out what it is that will keep you showing up week after week after week. So, here are some of the benefits I got from starting my podcast. And whatever your reasons are is absolutely okay, but just be honest and write these notes out as we're going through this because I really want you to take action on it. Think about what you would like from your podcast because whatever you want to get out of it will require you'll set it up slightly differently. So some of the reasons you might be starting your podcast are maybe you want to impact more people on a bigger scale. Maybe you want to connect with influential people. Maybe you want to build your network. Maybe you want to improve your speaking skills and open up the door to lots more speaking opportunities, to develop your confidence, increase brand awareness, build your authority, build your personal brand. Maybe you want to become known as the go-to person in your niche, to sell more of your products or services, to build up content that you can repurpose. Like I said, that's one of my favorite bits. Or maybe you want to add another income stream. And for me, one of the coolest things about it, I think, is being able to connect with incredible people. Like when I got to, right from the beginning of my podcast, I've been able to interview some amazing people. And I just had a real pinch me moment. Like when I was interviewing Daniel Priestley, he charges £96,000 a year to work with him. And I just reached out to him, asked if he'd be in my podcast. He stayed with me for an hour on the podcast and then half an hour afterwards, just coaching me. literally one-to-one, and it was all free. And I was thinking, how is this happening? But when you have this podcast, it's like this platform and this connection with all of these incredible people. So think about what you would love from your podcast. And then the next one is so important. Who do you want to talk to? Now, the majority of the time when I ask this, people say, well, I just want to speak to everyone, really. And the reason they do this is that they feel scared to niche down because they think it's going to mean that less people will listen. So you just think, oh, I'll just speak to everyone. Otherwise, I don't want to miss people out. But when you speak to everyone, you end up speaking to no one. And it's much better to have a smaller group of people that resonate with you so much that they become diehard fans than it is to have loads of people that could kind of take you or leave you. They're like, meh, not really invested in you. So, like when you put out any form of content online, the number one thing that you need to do first is figure out who you're actually talking to. Because once you know that, it's so much easier to create the content, and especially to create content that actually speaks to your ideal audience. That's what we're trying to do here. So figuring out who you want to listen to your podcast and how you're going to attract those listeners is key to your podcasting success. Now, if you're doing this podcast to maybe build an existing business or sell a certain product or course or something like that, then think about who your ideal client is for that and align the two. This is the perfect thing to feed into your offer, your business. If you don't already have a business and you have no idea who your ideal listener is, I would just ask yourself this. If I was on a boat and I was stuck on a boat for like ages with 10 random strangers, who would I most like to spend that time with? Because if you want to hang out with them, they're probably going to want to hang out with you as well. And that's normally a good general vibe to go with. So you might think you know who your listeners are already. You might think, yeah, I know who I'm speaking to. But I promise, please don't skip this step. It's such a key bit, and you are going to keep coming back to it because you're going to find yourself stuck and thinking, what should I post about? What should I talk about? But when you know your ideal listener, it's so much easier. So you will thank me later for this one, I promise. Okay. And then what is your mission? So when your ideal listener listens to your podcast, how do you want it to help them? Do you just want to offer 20 minutes of fun and escape from their crazy life? Do you want them to feel totally pumped up and motivated to take on the world? Like, yes, I can do this. Do you want them to feel super chilled and feeling all the feels like Gabby Bernstein type thing? Or do you want them to think, wow, I learned so much just then? Like that was a total like masterclass in whatever that topic is. So think about what you want your listener to tune into. And when you know the end result of what you're trying to achieve, again, it's so much easier to create your content and know whether you're doing a good job or not. Okay, so now we want to look at naming your podcast. So you might ask, how important is a podcast name? Honestly, it's so important, as someone will decide pretty quick whether they want to invest their precious time in your podcast based on if the name speaks to them or not. So in Apple Podcast or any kind of similar podcasting apps, they can only see your podcast name and your cover art, and the name of the podcast publisher. So basically, don't rush this step. Get those creative juices flowing and get brainstorming on a really, really good name. And I want to give you some tips to do that. So some types of podcast names that you could do is you could have like a what it says on the tin type thing. So for example, social media secrets, or let's talk politics, or I wouldn't have a podcast called Let's Talk Politics. So I literally don't have a clue. But it could be really straight to the point what it is. You could also have a made up name. So mine, for example, is called Made for More, or the Gold Digger Podcast, or the Soul Digger Podcast, which is my friend Kim's. You could have your name, The Carly Myers Show. Sounds pretty cool. Or you could have your business or your brand name. So like Boss Babe or something like that. And here are my top tips for creating a catchy name. So make sure it's really clear what field it's in. So they want to know instantly what they're going to get from this. If you start talking about, I always talk about baking on these videos. I don't know why, but if there's something about baking in there and it's nothing to do with baking, you're going to be misleading your audience. So make sure it's really clear what field it's in. It's not mega long. The shorter, the better. It's easy to pronounce and spell. It's memorable, and it's straight to the point and not fluffy. So you may have realized by now, like I said, I don't like fluff. I just want to get straight to it. And that'll be the case for most of your audience as well. They want to know what they're getting. So make it really, really obvious for them. So with that in mind, let's talk about your first 3 episodes. So your first 3 episodes are really important because when someone finds you, maybe it's your third year of podcasting and they just stumble across you, it's highly likely that they're actually going to start right from the beginning of your podcast, just like you would with a Netflix series. So, if you land on series 10 of Grey's Anatomy, you're going to be pretty confused. You're going to be like, what's going on here? There's so much drama. But that doesn't mean to say that these have to be perfect and these have to be your best work ever before you get them out. But just make sure that you're giving them a little bit of thought. Now, I'm a big fan of taking messy action and starting before you're ready. And yes, I cringe at the thought of someone hearing some of my first episodes now, but at least it's set up and, they know exactly what's to come, which is what it's all about. So, your first episode can be pretty short and sweet, and the main purpose of it is to give your listener a teaser of what's to come and what they can expect. Kind of like a little, if you're like a going to watch a film, you just want to know quickly, what's the deal with this? Is this film for me? So maybe include a little brief bit about you, why you decided to start this podcast, what it is that brought you here, what your mission is, and what sort of things you're going to be covering. So you can also be really clear on who this podcast is for if you want to be as well. You can literally outline it and say, this podcast is for this person who wants to get this and wants to learn this. Now, I would probably make this episode probably no more than 5 to 10 minutes because you just want someone to dive into it, listen to it, and decide whether it's for them or not. Episode 2, this is where you can go into a lot more about you and your story. So your main aim of this episode is to get your audience to know, like, and trust you. And it's your chance to really give them an insight into you and also to let them get an idea of your personality a little bit more as well. So I find stories really, really help get your audience to get to know you better. So add in a couple of stories. I find them they really help that relatability factor. And that's a big part of building relationships as well. So even if your podcast is interview based, so even if it's not really about you, but you're the one facilitating lots of great interviews, you still want to do this thing. You still want to get them to know you because ultimately you still want them to buy into you as the interviewer. And then lastly, you want to try and get them a quick win. So this is why it's really important to know who your ideal listener is, because it will make this bit really, really easy. So try and think of your ideal client or listener and think about what they are most struggling with and help them on their journey to overcoming it. Now, this will immediately make them feel seen and like you are the one that's worth them investing their time into and tuning into each week, because ultimately you understand them. Have you ever had that? Some people will talk about something and I think that is so me and I'm instantly in. Like anything that person says, I will listen to. I'm fully in. So let them get to know you a little bit better. Is this all making sense? I hope so. Okay, so let's dive into the tech. It's not actually a crazy, scary thing. I promise you're going to see it. So this is my simple tech setup. I started with a USB microphone. You can see that in the left there. And this one that I use is it's a Rode NT microphone. It's about £100 on Amazon. But lots of people also use something called a Blue Yeti. And that's really good as well. And that's under £100 on Amazon. So you don't need to spend loads of money on tech. It's, on a microphone. And then I had some like crappy, cheap headphones that I had. I think they were like £30 that I got. I actually got them from the airport because I wanted to listen to the to the plane movies with a decent pair of headphones. They were like £30 from the airport. And the reason that you want headphones is that when you're doing an interview, the sound of the voice, if the sound of the voice of the person you're interviewing is coming out of your laptop, it's also going to hit your microphone. So you want the sound to be coming out of your headphones because you don't want your microphone to pick up both voices like that. It will sound distorted if you do that. So that's why you want headphones. And then I just have my laptop, but you can actually just use an iPad or an iPhone if you don't have a laptop. Laptop's better, but there's always ways around it. And I showed you my setup in the beginning, and that's, me sitting on a rug surrounded by soft play and blankets. And that's because it's really echoey in my office. So I actually sit in a bay window now, and it's really echoey. It used to sound really distorted. So after a couple of months, I bought this jazzy little soundproofing screen. And this is actually £50 from Amazon. It isn't essential to get started, but it does definitely make a difference. And it also means that the sound quality is consistent regardless of where you're recording. So if you're in the lounge, if you're in your office, and you're wherever you are, it stays consistent, which is really, really cool. But that's just a nice to have. You don't have to have that. But if you are doing this on a budget and you really don't have like the money to spend out on Amazon, but you really want to get going, there is always a way. So you can use the headphones that come with your phone. Obviously, it's got the little microphone on there. I know many people that started their podcast in this way. And then on your phone, you'll have the voice memo app or even the GarageBand app that comes pre-installed, and you can record and edit your podcast just on there. If you don't have an Apple phone, there'll be some kind of voice memo on your Android or whatever. So there is always a way around it. You know, I always think you need to be in that solution focused mindset where you're thinking, okay, this isn't the perfect setup, but how can I do this? And there is always a way around it. So if you decide that you want to record and edit on your laptop, it is definitely the best way if you do have a laptop, and it's the easiest option if you can. And these are 3 apps that I use to make it really, really simple. So I record all of my episodes on Zoom, even if it's a solo episode, because like I said before, it records a video and an audio file separately, which means that I can repurpose that content. So I put the video on YouTube, I make a reel out of it, I make a TikTok out of it. I also do a slightly longer teaser clip for my Facebook group. And then I can do the audio. I edit the audio in GarageBand as well. So GarageBand automatically comes on your Mac, but there's lots of other, really simple systems exactly the same, which are usually free, if not a really, really small monthly fee. And they're really user-friendly as well. But another piece of software, which is really great, especially if you're a technophobe, is called Descript. So this actually, when you upload the audio file, it writes out all of the words that you speak. And so when you want to edit it, you can actually edit the words out. Like as if you're just editing a Word document. If you messed up some words, you can go highlight it, delete it, and it removes the audio from your voice. It's really cool. You can even add audio in that way as well, which is crazy. So it's much easier to edit because it's not like a waveform that you need to cut. And it also automatically removes all of the ums, the ahs, the likes. If you have certain filler words that you use all the time, you can just select at the top, remove all ums, and it will remove them. So it's a really cool app. And this also means that you can repurpose this content as well, and you can upload it as a blog on your website, which is going to massively help with SEO. So loads of different ways to do it and loads of different ways to get loads of content done. So once you've edited your episode and you recorded it, then you want to get it onto a podcasting platform and get it onto Apple iTunes and Spotify. So the good news is you actually only have to upload it to one place. So you don't need to go into Apple and go into Spotify and do all of those things. You just need to upload it to one place. So the best platforms to use are either Libsyn or Buzzsprout. But they're kind of like the 2 main ones. I use Buzzsprout. I started off with Buzzsprout. And then the good thing about this is it shows you all of your analytics as well. So it will show what episode has got a certain amount of downloads on. You can see which ones are performing better, which do people like more, where are people tuning in from, how many subscribers you've got. It gives you really good analytics. But if you're already using Kajabi, if you're using it for your website and your courses and things like that, you can now actually host your podcast on there also. So it really keeps everything in one place, which is what I love to do. And that gives you all of the same analytics as well. So I would say those are the 3 main places to upload it. Then once you've uploaded it onto that platform and you've registered your podcast with all of the main ones, so you just have to do this once, you register it with Apple iTunes and Spotify, and they verify to make sure that they're happy with it. It will automatically publish your episode to all of these websites as soon as you click publish. So you click publish once, it's on your Buzzsprout or your Libsyn or your Kajabi, and then it posts it out to all of the other platforms. So yeah, one tip though, I just want to let you know, if you're doing this for the first time, Spotify, it will go on straight away, but the first time you register your podcast with Apple iTunes, it's going to take a little, Anchor. Yeah, Anchor is a good one as well. If you want to use, I haven't used Anchor personally, but I know a lot of people do use Anchor. When you're uploading to Apple iTunes, it can take up to 72 hours to get verified. So make sure you give yourself plenty of time before you launch it. So don't say, I'm launching my podcast tomorrow, and then upload it and then be thinking, oh my God, it's not been verified yet. So just, if your launch date is in 3 days' time, then upload it then. Just give yourself some time. Don't put too much pressure on. And then lastly, set the date. I know this is the scary bit. Or some people actually find this the most exciting bit, but maybe you've been planning this podcast for months. Maybe you've been mega procrastinating, or maybe you're just literally now deciding. Maybe you saw my poster and you were like, yeah, I could do a podcast. Either way, setting your podcast launch date from the very beginning is so, so important, because if you don't have a date to work with, this is very likely going to be another thing that just sits on your little one-day shelf, your little someday shelf as a one-day project. And I really don't want that for you. And I know the fact that you're here shows me that you don't want that either. So setting the date, it doesn't mean it's final. It doesn't mean it can't change, but it does mean that you're setting out with intention, which is so important. And this is why I encourage people to do this first. I've told you at the end of the training, because I want this to be the first thing that you do. So give yourself a sensible time frame so that you can do this properly and allow for life and tech delays, like I said. And personally, I say 30 days is the perfect time frame. And I would choose a day of the week that you ideally want to stick to each time you release a new episode. Now, when I was having my babies, that day was changing slightly. It wasn't always the exact same day every week, but if you can do it the same day every week, it really does make a difference. So by setting a launch date, you have a deadline to stick to, and you can also start teasing your podcast launch to your audience well ahead of time so that they're anxiously waiting for your launch as well. So when you have it, I want you to write it big and bold in your calendar, write it on your wall for everyone to see. And I also want you to let me know as well so that I can help make it happen. So tag me on Instagram at Carly Myers Life. Show me it written down somewhere and let me know when you are launching your podcast. Let me know in the chat, actually, if you have any... if you have set your date. I want to know. Or maybe you're just writing it down now. Maybe you just scribbled down a date. They don't have a date that they are wanting to launch their podcast. So that is the breakdown of how to create your first 3 episodes and how to never run out of content ideas again. Can you see it's quite straightforward? I really hope that's made you feel a little bit better about actually there's not crazy stuff that goes into it. Let me know if you are feeling better about that, by the way. So, do you want a podcast that is super simple and actually builds your audience and your business? Let me know. Is it a nah, I'm not too bothered, or is it a yes, 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 I think this is for me. It's time to do it. It's time to become visible. It's time to put myself out there and really become, the go-to person in my niche. So, let's just do a really quick recap. If you are a yes, 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 then this course is 100% for you. If you're really serious about launching your podcast, I'm just going to recap the course so you know that this is what to do and in the simplest and easiest way possible. So inside this course, you get the exact method that I use to create my own powerful podcast for you to follow step by step and launch within 30 days or less. I take you through every single step. You get your app, like I said before, so you can go through the modules as you're going along. A lot of people think, I haven't got time to, invest in a course. But when you can do a course on the go, a lot of the courses that I take that have a Kajabi app, I kind of treat them like my podcast. I put on a module and I listen as I go. And then, of course, you have your downloadable workbook as well. So obviously, I would have loved to have gone through every single aspect today in this training, but my course has 52 lessons inside. So that would be a long webinar. So I'm going to go over what I cover in that course that I didn't cover today. So as I said before, I take you through each step. I talk about how to attract your dream audience, how to get them finding you, how to really stand out in your niche. So if you're going to be one of those 37,000 people in the business category, how to stand out, how to never run out of content ideas, like we talked through, all your tech tutorials. I talk you through each single stage of that. How to hit the top charts, how to successfully launch it so that people are excited to hear it, how to book high profile guests and build your network, and how to earn a passive income stream with every single episode. And one of my episodes actually led to me earning £12,000 off the back of it. And I actually keep earning money off that podcast episode now. So there are amazing ways that you can earn money with podcasting. And it's actually one of the things that I'm most passionate about teaching. And then this is the most exciting part. This is the fast track pack. It's the perfect asset to help you skip the stress and fast track your success. So this gives you access to all of my templates to pitch to sponsors, my media kit template, all of my podcast cover artwork templates, my tech tutorials, a full 30-day launch plan, and all of your social media assets as well. So this actually isn't available on its own. It's not a standalone product. It's just for you guys on this webinar to help you get to where you want to get to a little bit quicker. And it is a game changer, trust me. And then lastly, a little recap of how much it is. So it's 3 monthly payments of £97. Or if you decide that you want to pay in full, then you save £65 and it's £227. So if you look below the screen, you'll actually see a button. If you click that button, it's going to take you to the page and it's got lots more information about the course on there. And there's also a video on there as well, which takes you behind the scenes, so you can actually see what the modules look like, what it's actually like to be in the course, and you can also see what the workbook looks like as well, so you can really imagine what it's like to go through that course. So if there is any amount of excitement about simplifying your business and having a podcast that grows a loyal audience, then this is the perfect course for you. But how do you know if this course actually is for you or not? So this course is for you if you have so much that you want to share, but you just don't know where to start. You know, if you're still thinking, oh, I mean, I get it, but this is the perfect one for you. If you want to do it properly and not waste time and money winging it, this is for you. And if you're ready to build your audience and become the next level version of you, this is absolutely for you. So if any of that resonates, this is the perfect course for you. And unfortunately, even when people are the right fit, they're scared to join because maybe you've been burned by other programs. Oh, that picture there should be little emojis of sad people. It's fine. But I totally get that. I have so many courses sitting in my inbox that really didn't deliver on what I wanted. So I just wanted to introduce you to Laura. She runs a 6-figure coaching business, and she messaged me after purchasing my course and said, I've spent tens of thousands on mentors who don't have anywhere near the care you have for your clients, which is really, really cool. I loved getting that message. And also Chantel, who owns a membership site for nail technicians. She said, I just want to say a huge thank you. Our podcast has just hit 1,000 downloads and I'm literally loving it. That was so cool. Her podcast is amazing. Now, I know it can be so scary. And when you say yes to something, it's so scary because you haven't done it before. But I promise you, I am with you every single step of the way, just like Marissa said. So we made it to the end. Can you believe it? This means that we've made it to the Q&A, and I'm so excited to dive into all of your questions because I'm sure you have some. And I want to answer all and any of them that you have. So don't be shy. This is your chance to ask away. No question is too stupid. And if you've not jumped in up until this point, feel free to jump in the chat and ask straight away. So you should be able to just type in the chat. Let me just read through the comments. I've been procrastinating so much. Oh, you just finished your first episode. Good work. Oh, episode 2. Well, you're nearly there with your episodes now. Need to set a new date. Maybe my birthday. Oh, that's a nice date to go live. 22nd of July. That is a good date, Sophia. Still in the queue of my vision board. I want to start to plan doing that. Go for it, Simone. Go for it. It's so weird. It took me so long to do it. And once I did it, I was thinking, why was I so stressed about that? To start, how big the room needs to be. The room? Do you mean the room that you record in? There really is no general size, to be honest. I know I've got a friend who recorded it in a cupboard. She literally had everything was chaotic and she couldn't get to a place where it felt like, no, you can literally do it in a cupboard, Simone. It is all good. I've got another friend who literally, you can go on Amazon and get the soundproofing foam. So this is what's inside my screen. And he literally opened up his cupboard, put the soundproofing thing in like a square in his cupboard or in his wardrobe, and literally put the mic in the middle of it and recorded in it. So you do not need a big room at all. You don't need a big space. And if you do invest in one of these soundproofing screens, it sounds like you're in a sound studio, but you're not. When you finish recording and send it off to someone, to edit? Are they just doing the sound or editing the episode too? So I actually don't get my sound edited. I used to. I did have it done once, and he obviously didn't like the sound of my voice, so gave me like a really low, soft voice. Like he must think that I talk really shrill and made me have this different voice and leveled it out, and I didn't like it. So I don't actually get any of my sound done now. But yeah, they do the episodes. So what my podcast editor does is she listens to my thing. She takes a teaser clip of it. So I have a teaser clip right at the beginning of my episode. Then it goes into a podcast intro that I pre-recorded. Then it goes into sometimes an advert for one of my own products or an affiliate thing. Then it goes into the episode, and then sometimes there might be an advert in the middle of that. And then it goes into, normally at the end of my podcast, I have a call to action. So I promote my my Facebook group at the end of it. So yeah, the editor puts all that together, literally chops it all together. My one is actually amazing. I can give you her details if anyone wants it. She does that. She uploads it to Buzzsprout or Kajabi for me. She writes all of my show notes. She also takes the video, puts it on YouTube, makes me a reel, makes me a TikTok, makes me a little clip. So good. And that's £30 an episode. So worth it. Yeah, she's amazing. Can the podcast be about general things like my life and passions rather than a specific business niche? So I suppose I would be the niche. Or does it need to be more strategic? Not at all. And this is the thing, like, you know, again, one of the most popular podcasts out there is Rosie and thingy. Oh God, I can't remember his name now. He's a comedian. They're a couple, and they literally just go on and talk. It's their personality. 100% the people tuning in are because of their personality, and they just like to hang out with them. That's a great thing about podcasts. Most of the time, it's because someone just wants to hang out with you or just chat or listen to you chat or things like that. So it does not need to be for your business. It does not need to be a specific niche. It can literally just be going on and sharing. And you know, if you want to connect with people that are like you, if you want to go on and your interests include gardening, watching Homes Under the Hammer, something else. Liz, I'm not saying this is you, by the way, but say, for example, you've got loads of different areas of your personality. If that makes up you, there's going to be other people that are like you as well, and they will get something out of that. So you do not need to have a specific niche or strategy. I'm just so businessy. My brain is always wired to business. So I always think about how I can link it in my business, but people just join for fun. How do you find a podcast editor? So you can actually find them on, I can obviously give you mine, but you can also find them on Upwork, which is a freelance site. So if you wanted a graphic designer or a podcast editor or something, you can go on to Upwork, say, I'm looking for a podcast editor, and loads of people will come to you and say, this is what I can do for you. This is my package, blah, blah, blah. And they have reviews and everything like that. So that's a great way of finding Upwork and Fiverr, Fiverr. But also, if you go into a Facebook group, you can also ask someone and just say, does anyone recommend a podcast editor? Does anyone recommend a tech VA? You know, a tech virtual assistant can totally do it as well. There's lots of options there. So, oh, thanks, Simone, for saying I've got a beautiful voice. I think it is a little bit shrill, but we go with it. Do you record an episode all in one go? Yeah, I record an episode all in one go, just from like a time efficiency point of view. And it's also a really good idea to batch create episodes as well. So when I was pregnant and I knew that I was going to have, you know, a month or 2 months off my podcast, I actually batch created a few episodes in one go. It's quite good because you're sat there, you're all set up, you're talking, you're in that flow, you're in the mind frame of talking to your ideal client. So you can probably, you know, crack out 2 or 3 episodes in a couple of hours because you're just sitting and rolling with it. That's a really great way of getting lots of content done in one go. And that's 3 weeks. You know, if you get 3 episodes done, that's 3 weeks worth of content that you can get going with. So yeah, I sit and do one episode in one go, but my podcast intro is pre-recorded, so that's already done. My adverts are always pre-recorded. I just slot those in. So the only thing I'm really recording is the whole main content of the episode, and usually an intro if it's for an interview. Do you write down what you're going to say, or does it just come to your mind, writing only some topics? So when I first started, I wrote down every single word. So I would sit and I would write a whole script about what I wanted my episode to be. Because I was nervous and I didn't trust myself to just talk off the cuff, I thought, my God, what on earth am I going to talk about if I'm let loose? Who knows what's going to come out? But as I've done it longer, I've got more confident. I've understood myself better. I trusted myself better. And I just feel much more natural now. So I just talk now. I have a general topic, sometimes bullet points of what I want to talk about, but then I just go on and talk. I do go off on a tangent quite a lot, but I think it's quite good and natural. But it's totally up to you. I know some people that have massive podcasts with millions of downloads, and they still script every single word. But I feel like I can hear it. I feel like I know when it's scripted. And obviously that takes a lot more time as well, because you have to plan like that. But yeah, it's exciting. I hope it's made you feel confident. I hope it's made you feel excited about starting a podcast and thinking, maybe I can actually do this. Because honestly, the truth is you can actually do this. I promise you. Your first episodes may not be perfect. You might cringe at the thought of anyone listening to them again, but it's fine. Who cares? Like, literally, who cares? And I just feel like I get so many messages from people saying, I really needed to hear that today, or thank you so much. That message totally spoke to me. And I just think if I was so caught up in myself and I was like, oh God, it needs to be perfect, they wouldn't have got that message today, And I just think it's amazing to be able to help people like that. I love your podcast with Kim, Mella. Thank you. It's such a good episode. I love chatting to Kim. And that, the truth is, with all of the episodes that are the most natural, they're always the ones that get the most response. And, people replying to me, it's the ones where they feel like they're literally just sitting and having a chat to me, or listening to me chatting to my friend or something like that. So don't feel like it needs to be this big polished thing. It's very different to, other forms of video content that you might put out there where every word has to be perfect. I feel like it's a really great way of being natural, and you can't hide anything. Like, I can't hide the way I am on my podcast because I just talk. So it really is a good opportunity for my audience to get to know me, and that will be exactly the same for you as well. Oh, that's good to hear. Fabulous. Well, thank you so much for jumping on this training tonight. I really hope you found it helpful, and I hope it's given you some, is it like doing a live? Exactly like doing a live. Yeah, I just look out the window, chat to myself. Sometimes I forget that people are listening. But yeah, it's amazing. I absolutely love it. Sometimes it feels like therapy. I just go on and start talking, and I think probably gave a bit too much information then, but anyways. Thank you so much for joining me. Please let me know if you have any questions. The doors for Launch Your Podcast are open for 5 days. So if you want to jump in and get the fast track pack, if you want to get the webinar exclusive offer, then jump in. I'll see you in there within the next 5 days, and just do it. Just stop overthinking it. Start taking some bold moves. I really think that, being successful is just about making bold moves and not overthinking it and just pushing yourself. So love it. Thank you so much, my loves. Have a wonderful evening, day, morning, wherever you are. 22nd of July. Sophia, I'm so excited for you. I cannot wait to see it up there, and make sure that you tag me in it so I can share it with everyone as well. Thanks, guys. Bye.